Hi friends, good evening. This is Dr. Harinath Reddy, Director, Shankaran IA Study Circle. Today in this particular video, we will discuss in detail National Electronics Policy of 2019. So this particular video is useful for Appsc Group 1 Mains exam relating to Science and Technology and the chapter relating to Information and Communication Technology. Information and Communication Technology. In addition, it will be also useful for Indian economy of Appsc Group 1 Mains exam. Then let's go into the details of National Electronic Policy of 2019. So this policy aims at making the electronics industry in India the world's the largest and the fastest growing industry. So as of now at the global level, electronics industry is the world's largest and the fastest growing industry, and the policy of 2019 wants to leverage National Electronic Policy of 2019 to realize Make in India program and also the digital programs, the Digital India program of Government of India. In other words, National Electronic Policy of 2019, it is one of the important pillars for both Make in India and the Digital India programs of the Government of India. In addition to this, as of now, the electronics hardware manufacturing sector in India, the electronics hardware manufacturing sector in India, it faces a number of problems, and the present policy of 2019 aims at addressing these problems. Then what are the problems which are being faced by the electronics hardware manufacturing sector? So one is level playing field. So there is lack of level playing field between the domestic industry and the competing nations. So in other words, the indigenous electronics hardware manufacturing sector in India, it is at a disadvantage compared to the same industry in other countries which are competing nations. So Government of India is not able to create a level playing field between the indigenous industry and the competing nations. In addition to this, the present domestic electronics hardware manufacturing sector has remained non-competitive for a number of reasons like lack of adequate infrastructure, lack of domestic supply chain and logistics, high cost of finance, that is credit, inadequate availability of quality power, the power issues, inadequate availability of quality power, inadequate components manufacturing base, limited design capabilities, and inadequate focus on research and development by the industry, and also the inadequacies in skill development. So all these factors, they are responsible for the electronics hardware manufacturing sector in India to become non-competitive. And so rightly the policy of 2019 wants to make this sector very robust and competitive. And to look into some of the facts relating to this particular industry, in 2017, the global electronics hardware industry production in terms of value, it amounted to $2 trillion at the global level. This particular sector or industry has a value of $2 trillion in terms of Indian currency. It is 1 crore 30 lakh crores or $2 trillion. And if you take in India, the value of this particular sector in 2014-15, it is 1,90,366 crores in 2014-15, 1,90,366 crores, and in 2017-18 the value of this sector is 3,87,525 crores. And at the global level, if you see the share of this particular sector, share of India at the global level in this particular sector, it is 3%. India's share in the global hardware electronics production is about 3%. And the share of domestic electronics production in India's GDP is 2.3%. So the contribution of indigenous electronics hardware sector to the total GDP of India is 2.3%. And in addition to this, in 2017-18, the total value of the imports of electronic goods was put at 53 billion US dollars, that is 3,44,500 crores. And keeping this in mind, the Union Cabinet has approved the National Electronic Policy of 2019. And one of the objectives of this policy is to achieve a turnover of 400 billion US dollars by 2025. So the electronics system design and manufacturing sector, has to achieve a turnover of 400 billion US dollars or 26 lakh crores by 2025. So the turnover target is 400 billion US dollars or 26 lakh crores. And the target for achieving employment opportunities is 1 crore people. So to provide employment for 1 crore people in this one sector by 2025. And what is the vision for this particular sector as per the 2019 policy? So the vision statement of 2019 policy says to position India as a global hub for electronics system design and manufacturing. So by giving a number of incentives for this particular sector, Government of India wants to make India a global destination, a global hub for electronics system design and manufacturing. And then if you see the mission, what the policy wants to achieve, the following are the important mission objectives. One is promote domestic manufacturing in the entire value chain of this particular sector. As of now, as I told, India is dependent very much on the imports for electronic hardware items. Instead of that, Government of India wants to achieve through this policy of 2019 to promote domestic manufacturing within India rather than depending on imports in the entire value chain. In addition to this, the policy also aims at strengthening the linkages of India with the global trade and also integrating this particular sector in India with the global value chains. In addition to this, the policy also aims at transforming India into a destination for manufacturing and exports. So in other words, the policy aims at manufacturing electronic hardware products within India and then also exporting them to the countries across the globe and thereby achieving a net positive balance of payments. In addition to this, the policy also aims at developing or increasing the capacities for manufacture, in all these subsectors of electronics. In addition to this, the policy also aims at easing of manufacturing by introducing a number of fiscal incentives to make electronics manufacturing in India globally competitive. So in the beginning I said that this industry is not globally competitive for a number of reasons. By addressing these problems, the policy aims at making this particular sector a huge employment generator, and also the policy also aims at making this particular sector globally competitive. Unless the sector becomes globally competitive, we cannot make exports, we cannot capture the global market, we cannot increase the employment generation. In addition to this, if required, the policy also speaks about giving protection to the domestic industry from dumping of electronic goods. So there is a severe competition with respect to indigenous industry and also the exports. If required, the indigenous industry will be given protection from the dumping of electronic goods from the countries across the globe. In addition to this, the policy speaks about promoting research and development, giving focus to research and development to develop electronic products. In addition to this, the policy aims at also encouraging the establishment of global bases for manufacturing of components in India. So those who had a global reputation in this particular sector, those major companies will be encouraged to set up their bases in India and contribute for manufacturing within India. And in addition to this, the policy will also try to enable flow of investment and technology into India. What for higher value addition within India with respect to electronic products, and thereby increasing the manufacturing of electronics hardware for local use and also for exports. Then what are the different incentives which are being given for encouragement of this particular sector? The policy says that an interest subsidy of 4% will be given for all the loans which are given to this particular sector. So for all the loans up to 1,000 crores, on plant and machinery of electronic hardware, there will be an interest subsidy of 4%. So what is the consequence of this initiative? The credit which is made available to this particular sector will be made cheap. In addition to this, in case the loans which are given to this particular sector are become default loans, then the government will provide a security in case the loans are defaulted. That's why the government proposes to create a fund to provide a default guarantee of up to 75% to banks for plant and machine loans of up to 100%. In other words, if a particular entrepreneur or company takes loan from a bank, and if it defaults in paying the loan, the government will give guarantee to the banks that it will pay that money to the extent of 75%. So the advantage of this one is the banks will be more encouraged to come forward to give loans for the promotion of this particular sector without the fear of the loans becoming non-performing assets. In addition to this, so this credit guarantee fund which will be created, it will be on the pattern of the credit guarantee which is being provided currently by SIDBI, Small Industries Development of Bank of India, for the small and medium enterprise sector. In addition to this, the policy also speaks about electronics manufacturing cluster scheme. So under this electronics manufacturing cluster scheme, infrastructure support will be provided for a group of industries that are part of the product supply chain. In addition to this, to encourage the intellectual property, acquisition of intellectual property in this particular sector, the policy also speaks about a sovereign patent fund. In addition to this, as a rising economy and the world's largest market for mobile phones, India sadly does not have a competitive electronic sector. So out of the countries across the globe, India is the world's largest market for mobile phones. Despite it being the case, we are very much dependent on the imports because of the indigenous industry is not competitive. So the policy aims at ensuring Indian manufacturing in the electronic sector to get its rightful place. Then the policy will also help in faster indigenization, which would be of great benefit as it brings down the cost substantially. So if there is a greater manufacturing of electronics hardware within India, we will be able to reduce the cost substantially and thereby the sector becomes more competitive. And in addition to this, Internet of Things based refrigerators and cold chain facilities will become cheaper if they are locally manufactured. If they become cheap, there will be increased demand and there will be more exports and more consumption within India, thereby generating more employment and thereby creating more wealth and prosperity. More wealth and prosperity. And as I have already told, the creation of the sovereign patent fund to promote the development of intellectual property in this particular sector will also boost export competitiveness. So that's it about the National Electronic Policy of 2019. Thank you.